Call roll.
Bird. Again.
Yes.
Stein.
Here.
Mormon.
Here.
Hilheimer.
Here.
Williamson. Here. Frank.
Here. Yeah, approval agenda. Any changes, Your Honor? No changes this evening. Move to approve. Second. Call the roll.
Again.
Yes.
Stein.
Yes.
Mormon.
Yes.
Hilheimer.
Yes.
Williamson. Yes. Frank.
Yes.
Bird.
Yes. Okay, number 3, presentation, petition, and other communications. A, discuss libraries digital control project.
Good evening, I am here to consider veterans. I'm my library board president, Mike Carr here. We've had this project on our budget for probably 4 years now. We originally started out at 50,000 maybe 4 years ago. And we bumped it up to 60,000, knowing that we were probably low. We did hire an engineer back in June. He did give us a probable cost of 208,000 in September, and I asked them for December, sorry, January, December. And then in September, I asked for an updated estimate, knowing that we did have some VAV boxes that wouldn't be fan powered, some things had changed. He'd actually gone up and looked around more. And it's increased 291,000. So, this was slated to happen this fiscal year. And I'm just coming to you to give you an update. We can delay it, well, whenever. But I obviously kind of stuck in around our place. So I don't know if it'll go up with inflation, maybe it'll go down. This is just based on an engineer's estimate. So how many questions? Is there anything I can clarify?
You usually get like a second estimate. You have to have one estimate right now.
So yeah,
That's just a projection. Real.
Right.
That's an engineer's projection.
So
So
nothing,
typically, it's the system design. You have design drawings and stuff.
yeah. So he came up with the drawings and the design.
So you could actually send it out for bids or.
It would have to go out for bids, yes.
Um,
And our original,
I've done this before when I was working at ACI. If you go to a couple of local contractors, they will give you a preliminary estimate that would be more accurate than an engineer's estimate. Typically, the engineer's estimate is higher because they want to cover the
Yeah.
bases. So I would send it out because $12,000 a VAV box is pretty darn expensive. I don't know I know it's a DVC system, but is it a Johnson Control DVC system, or is it Woodman, or who is it?
we tried to stay away from Johnson Control.
They're really expensive.
Yeah, that was the whole reason.
Do you know where he got his numbers from? Did it go to Woodman?
Right, I mean, like, yeah. I can show you the, but, he asked me specifically to stay away from Johnson Control, and he pretty much said Woodman, same thing, they all are expensive.
So especially. Well, I was just wondering, because that makes a difference. I 291,000 just pretty pricey.
Oh, I agree.
what are you thinking? I mean,
Well,
that's high, so
$12,000 for a per VAV box installed is pretty expensive. Typically, you buy a VAV box for $3,000, and we were doing estimates like that. It's usually double whatever the cost of material. So I don't know how extensive the design is. I haven't seen the drawings, but if there's a lot of piping they're adding or stuff like that, I think it's just VAV placement, right?
It's the control center.
Yeah, right.
Right. So it's pretty premature right now to know what the actual cost would be. Until we get
Until we go for
firm,
bids,
yeah.
right? but it's definitely gonna be over 60,000.
And how old is the building?
Those control, or that system was put in 1990s.
So about,
And they did the remodel renovation.
The DEC says it's just a digitally controlled system, it's more sophisticated. They can zone control the entire building, so one section can be 70 degrees, the other section can be 68 degrees. It's a nice system, and it's energy savings too, right? So you don't have to-
and otherwise you just have to kind of fix back up every year. I mean, it sounds like what we're kind of where you're at right now.
We definitely know there are VAV boxes out, just because of the drastic temperature changes. But we don't really want to put money into repairing or replacing them if we're going to do this project. So, kind of running.
I think we can get some bits, so we can see where we're at, so we can figure out how we do that.
So you'd like me to get like preliminary bids, or do you want me to go out for?
We move on this sooner rather than later, and the sound of it. It's a pretty bad situation last year, it was cold. That's probably one of the only public spaces people get to go to that, cold.
Yeah, right now, fine. I mean, we've done $300,000 into park ride for 60. So whoever did that preliminary estimate. Wait.
If I could interject, considering that we need to do this project within the next year or whatever, you can always have her go out for bids and see what the prices are, because you always have the option of rejecting the bids. At least that would give you an idea. I'm not so sure about the preliminary bids, if that makes sense. But so you have an engineer on staff, correct? Or that you have them do that, and then those bids can come back for the library trustees as well as the council to consider. And then at that point, if you feel that's a fair price or you want to do it, then you could authorize the project forward. And then Andre and I can give you options on how to pay for it. Most likely reserves, but then as we budget in the future for LOST, we can always budget for it and then pay those reserves back. But certainly,
Do you want to do it, do you want to do it as an entire project, or do you want to phase it?
I think in
Yeah.
talking with Jamie
Yeah,
on this project before, it's cheaper to do it all at once than phase it. Is that correct?
Right, we had asked the engineer for kind of a cost or a side-by-side comparison of 2 phases versus 1 phase.
I mean, I think we're starting to see some relief, a little bit of bids, and the reason I say that is the bids for the Hancock Road. I understand that's a road project. But those bids came under the 3.5 million. That was budgeted, that we're concerned that they would be over. So maybe we're starting to see some relief. If you remember the exterior walls project, at the water plant, the bids were high, and we went out for rebid on that, and then they were more reasonable. I don't remember how long, it was, 4 or 5, 6 months later. So that is an option you could do, is go out for the bids. And because you don't, again, you don't have to accept them, you can make a motion, or the library trustee can to reject the bids. So that would probably be the best way to, at least my suggestion, so that you know what it's gonna cost.
I think that's a start. I think we need to at least start looking into it. Not gonna get better at it.
It's good, when we can make an educated decision whether we have.
I'm assuming you that engineer can give you a good idea for this type of project, when the best time to bid is. Normally, we look at for road projects and things like January and February, because it starts in the spring and people don't have their calendar, and contractors don't have their job yet, so you might get,
Yeah, our original plan was to bid in January, but I don't think the work can actually be done until after we're done with our Thanks for, it's just gonna get people to do it their own.
Right. So regardless, we're gonna have to go through another winter like this. So, and that gives us an opportunity as we work on the fiscal year 24 budget. I'm speaking particularly the LOST on how much we can budget for that year. We'll know by January when it goes out for bid, to give you an idea, look, we're budgeting this much. If it has to be started before the fiscal year 24, we can use reserves, and then those reserves can be replenished with the money we budget in fiscal year 24. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, so.
It's a bit.
They can.
And report to standing committees, policy administration, BJ.
Yes, Your Honor, we've got, here on Wednesday. We'll meet here, correct? At 9 a.m.
Yes, sir. As a reminder, for the committee, that is a closed session. He chose for the meeting to be closed, so we'll start the meeting and then make a motion. Yes, I will supply the questions for you all.
Public safety and transportation, Stephen.
One item that came up and we don't have time to. This is a request that police signs in the right of way. This is for the airport fundraiser in the Area Pilot Association Saturday. We are requesting that we can put up signs tomorrow and then they'll take them down this week and that. So.
Motion.
Motion approved.
Second. Call the roll.
Stein,
Yes.
Mormon.
Yeah.
Bill Piper,
Yeah.
Williamson,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Bird,
Yeah.
again.
That's it.
Okay, utility committee, Stephen.
No report, but we will have a meeting on the 13th at 4:30 p.m.
And just a note to you, Stephen, I will not be here for that meeting. I'm sure JR or whatever can run the meeting.
Okay, economic development, Terry.
No report, but we will have a meeting on the 17th, 5:30.
Okay, department reports, building official, Ed Higgins. No report. Finance officer, Brad.
Under desk, there is a budget calendar. Not everybody needs to go to the CIP committee meeting. I believe that's Norman and Bird that's on that committee. Remember correctly? That is at 9 o'clock on November 10th, right here at council chambers. December 6th, everybody, is, needs to be at the goal setting, if at all possible, and that is at the police station. In January, we decided to delegate the hotel motel, budget request meeting with the council meeting. That meeting's anymore, so we'll just combine those on January 3rd. And then the big, budget work session is scheduled for January 17th here at City Hall. And then we only need the January 24th one if we don't, if we run into issues. And then the rest of it is just public hearings and things that are just part of your council. The next thing is in the consent agenda, there is the city street finance report. This is an annual report that I have to provide to the Iowa Department of Transportation. It basically tells the state where we have spent all of our business money. It lists out all of our equipment that we own. It lists out any major projects that we have completed. It lists everything out from salaries to benefits to the maintenance on the streets. Then the state actually creates another report and now it goes to the federal government. But if you have any questions on that, I complete those. The other item I have is that the conference equipment, which included the mics, the camera, and speakers, have been delivered. Not sure that we want to install those if we're going to replace these stuff though until that's been done. There will be some wiring to get that. That's all I have.
Thank you. The city attorney, Jim.
No report.
Director of Public Works, Wayland.
Thank you, Don. Real quick, we're working on street patches right now over on West 10th, see us around, going one lane at that and trying to be as efficient as we can. Can't remember if I briefed you, our salt is all in for the winter. I think we have about 800 tons ready to go. Dump truck came in for the year. And we dye tested sewers uptime, the roof drains late last week, and we have a meeting tomorrow to set our own. We'll report back. Yes.
Thank you. Public Safety Chief Adams,
No report, Your Honor.
Chief Legal.
No report, huh?
City Administrator Bell.
Thank you, sir. So as you know, we talked about the communication position up here before, and I'll give you some. I'll tell you that I had conversations with the chamber about a person maybe would share type of position. That person left for another employment, as you heard of the last meeting. I have talked with AZBC. I met with Eric, who was their marketing communications person. We had a nice conversation. There are some challenges with that, and if we get anything with that, it would be separate from the contract we have with them. The other one is I talked with the public relations firm about it and what we need. I think some of the things we're figuring out is that we need some help in this position, but whether it's full apart, I think we'll determine at least at this point, we're not sure full apart. So in this conversation I had with this individual that runs a public relations firm and has a, what his suggestion was after we went through all of it was put out, we could put out an RFP to a company for just 6 months and see how it goes. This person thought, listen, after 6 months, you're gonna know whether you're gonna need a full-time one or a part-time or whatever. 6 months, obviously, you're not outlaying a lot of money. For a year, we can determine maybe we can determine it in 6 months or you need full-time. So that's kind of what I've come up with. I'm looking for some input from you all. Is that something, I have the names of a couple of companies that I could put out RFPs for 6 months and see what I get and bring those to you. We could look at it and say, you know what, maybe it needs to be a full-time position, if that's what you decide. I would just note that, as you know, as we move forward with the sale of 628 Story Street, the wellness center is going to come up. There are some, as that project moves forward, there is a need for that communications person to get the message out and everything like that. So I'll throw that out to consideration as well. I do not need an answer tonight. If you want to think about it, we can bring it back up on the 17th. That's kind of what I think there are challenges sharing a position, particularly for a year long. But then on the other hand, we want to commit for a year when if we could possibly go for 6 months and see if this works, or no, we need to add hours or whatever. As you know, we contracted with our website company. Andreas handled that. Do you have any update on that for that one email? Whatever goes from the city comes from this email.
We're working on that. Basically, it's gonna be a little bit of a process because they're only willing to do a few of them and then I have to fill out the rest.
Sure.
So it's not a matter of anything at all. That's about where I've given them the long list of what I want, but I have not gotten this confirmation.
So we've talked about that before and you all approved that to move forward with that. So we're still working on that. So
Talking a little bit again on the communication position, that person would be responsible for what? Just in broad terms.
one central message to the city and do the work that it takes to get that. For example, I look at this as a position that's putting nothing but positive out. You all told me in the past that things that are said on social media, and it's important to you that if we need to respond, we do. I have found that municipalities have this position because they have thought the same thing, that whether you like it or not, it's out there and we need to be able to respond to it. So that person would, lack of a better word, look at those sites, not respond to them. Last thing we want is a back and forth, but coming up with what's out there and how we can address that positively so that we can, one, in my book, correct the record, to get the truth out there, some of the stuff that's out there is absolutely
I'd
not
also
true.
be the spokesperson for, I mean, after they have reviewed kind of what the message was.
Well, the spokesperson would be the city, they would just get that information, form it into the correct message, work with me, and make sure that the proper information is put out there. And then this person also could do, newsletters, we could get to the point where we could do one, and it would be part of this email, where everything comes out of there, so there would be, once this email that runs, we will push, say, hey, you want information from the city, this is where you need to go, please give us your email. Huge email, and then it goes out to that, that's the only, if you want city information, comes from this email, so please sign up.
And I don't know, I'm just showing this, I don't know if there's any way that position that we're looking at should be half-time or full-time. If there's any way that position would be involved with the Main Street process. And, be it whether shared with that, because Main Street, when the chamber was kind of really involved, when they were looking at more, I guess what we've heard is it often takes a director, someone that is in charge of doing that. And so don't know if there would be any sharing there.
No. The quick answer, the Main Street project of what we're doing is just like any other project. So this person would put information out on that project. But that person certainly would be director of the Main Street. No, that needs to be,
That's to the chamber.
exactly right, Mayor.
So. I would say this, chamber is overseeing the Main Street. They need to be open. I mean, we can't just say here, go work for the chamber. Got all the message to them, because I know groups that are trying to work with the chamber that want to be part of it, to help Main Street, and aren't on the board. It just, we're not gonna get involved.
Right.
We're not doing that.
That's just all it is. This person would choose the Main Street project, just like any other project. If there any positive information, we can get out to you. And that goes like with a street project, or
Everything.
any project.
I think at these times it makes sense. I mean.
Yeah.
If we,
Well, if you read any social media whatsoever, I mean, and you're right, you don't want to get into back and forth, but you want to put out the correct information. There was some genius on there the other day that thinks there's $2 general stores. Well, then people start buying into that. That's where the city comes in and says, no, you don't answer that, but you just put a thing out, Dollar General is not having 2 locations. I mean, I think just simple. things.
Exactly right, and a good example that mayor's put on, Gary's put together on this email, one of those things on that we're gonna have on there is, did you know? So then when we're finding that out there, that's absolutely not true, then this person puts something, did you know? Send it out and the email goes up, the whole email blast, everybody in the community signs up. In my view, that if you don't take the time to sign up and get on the CU or email list so that we can give you the correct information, then we can't address any issues you have, or quite frankly, I don't know that we need to listen to you, because you have the right to get on the email list so that we want to get the information out.
I won't need a big promotion. Right.
Yeah. I do think a good path forward was something that you mentioned, putting out an RFP for something for 6 months for a part-time position. To see, somebody with a professional background in this area or a firm can see what they can do to put newsletters, or, they'll probably have ideas that we don't know about because we don't have that training and background, so.
We do not have that position on staff right now that has that expertise. That's a very good point.
So, now I would be looking for the.
Getting the truth out, that's what
Really what it is. So it's important, no matter who this PR firm is, the message that comes out comes from the city. So
Yes.
it will be reviewed and scrubbed
Yes.
by administration.
Right.
And elected officials, so.
We had some the other day said we had $21 million in reserve. I wish we did. I mean, but then people buy into that. So that way you put the truth out there. I mean.
This is all about getting
It's all very nice.
a little bit of information out to our citizens in one way, it's email.
Yes.
I think the RFP is a great, I think the RFP is a great idea. At least we know what.
Okay, so what I'm getting is put an RFP up to the 6 months, see what we come up with. I've got 3 names now. I can sit with those, I'll give it those, put something together and then give it those, send it to those companies and then hopefully get something back. Good?
Good.
Perfect. I just had a couple announcements. Reminder, October 6th at 9 AM, which is this Thursday, the groundbreaking for the 22nd Boone Street project. You're all invited, hopefully as many of you can as possible. On the West Park Avenue and South Mary Street project, we normally have a community meeting with the people the project affects, right? SDH is gonna be doing that. I did it, scheduled it for October 17th at 5 PM. I try not to bring you guys in as, combined things, so you're only coming. So if you could make that meeting, if you choose, 5 PM. I know we have a meeting at 5:30 that night, but 5 PM October 7th in the auditorium. We'll also have it virtually through SDH and the Teams meeting. So that's on the 17th. A reminder of the Ag Certain event. This is a huge event for an announcement they're going to make on October 19th. That's at 11:45. That's a luncheon and then a program. I would encourage as many of you to attend that as possible to show our support for Ag Certain and their expansion, which is my guess is pretty substantial on what we're going to do for the city of Boone. My last thing is we're working on remodel. We had Swan Creek here to look at our desk or build a desk, and what they were telling us was, believe it or not, some of the stuff that we have now is actually people want it these days. So they they asked about, and as a meeting Thursday at 2 PM with them, about them refurbishing these desks and then putting like a countertop on it, something like that, so it would be nicer. The holes would be cut for what we're doing with the communications and things like that. But also brought my attention that there are some concerns about these desks, with height, and they're too small and all that, so we couldn't refurbish it. So, would you like me to meet with them and look at refurbishing these with a different top on it? Or do you want new modern,
They're saying they can use this, redo the top or put a new top
no,
on.
new top, but refurbish it? You know what? Well, the drawers would be improved.
Oh,
Yeah, I think we want drawers. You don't want drawers?
no. Yeah, it's moving.
Well, that'd be a high, that would be a high rise. And if you have an issue with height, then they could refer something that thing, because so. Before I commit to anything.
If you need to refurbish these houses, these are all right.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
that's what we're going with the whole thing. We're not gonna remodel the whole thing. Yeah. I'm thinking.
Yeah, so he's coming to give me ideas of what it would look like Thursday too. So,
You're not.
all right. Yeah, very good. The only other thing on the bathrooms, we are gonna look at remodeling, I know that is your top priority. Just for your information, we need to make those, since we're remodeling and code, those bathrooms need to be ADA. And so we're working on that as well. That's what's slowing the project, trying to get numbers, and there's gonna be quite extensive construction, I think, to widen those openings. So that's just an FYI for you. And Mike's working on those diligently. We just don't have any numbers yet. That's all I have to. Yes, sir.
Thursday. Where are they seeing?
22nd Lynn,
But we're.
we're
at-
at- it's gonna be right at the intersection of that right away. I had a couple words, they went down there and made it look really nice.
Okay.
And they're gonna do some more things there as well, and that's where it's gonna be. Brenda, you were gonna send out an email at some point, that's on parking.
Verification.
Yeah, there is parking, that's what, that road on North 22nd, whatever it is. There's a room on the side of the road, so it's right at the front of the section. Yeah. What is it, Justin?
What?
22nd, or 10th Street North.
P Avenue.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's probably the best way to work, get across one.
What was the name of that road?
P Avenue.
All right. Number 6, consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that you'd like to move and discuss separately? If not, I need a motion to approve. Move to approve. Okay. Call the roll.
Mormon,
Yes.
Stonehimer,
Yeah.
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Bird, Egan, Stein,
Yeah.
Okay, number 7, we have nothing. Number 8, we have no comments. Number 9, any council comments?
Got a couple of things, Your Honor. Like the council to consider, at least consider next year moving Halloween to the last Saturday of October. I've had several people contact me, a little concerned about it being on a school night. A lot of communities, Bondurant just moved theirs to permanently to the last Saturday of October. Take that off, so. I'm trying to consider,
I've always, ever since I've been here, trick or treats on Halloween. Thanksgiving's on Thanksgiving.
Just a
4th of
bad
July's
deal.
on 4th of July.
Well, I know, but. Okay. I'm just saying, it's always, it's made it easy, we
Oh. But we just never had an issue. Why, the school is 5 to, what, 5 to 7?
yes. I'm just saying, that 3 or 4 people reach out to me, or, I don't know.
So it would be kind of.
Second thing is.
Come up before.
The underpass signage. Like, I guess we had another event this week, as you know. There'd be a thing, so that really. Wondering if we could consider maybe flashing lights and maybe putting it in a different language, I don't know. But we need to do something because the north side is isolated. And I asked, talked with JR about it, the sign headed northbound or southbound is covered by trees.
Do we request some alternate signage from DOT or responsible for that?
No.
You're taller than this. Other trucks.
Yeah, exactly, that's what they want.
You're taller than this. But I think that's what it takes, I don't know. All right.
Well, I think that's,
If you can't, I'm on YouTube.
the problem is with the city church, it's cloud, right now, it could be problematic.
Speaking of that, those, you know, they always try to call that 800 number. Well, you see how those signs are facing? If you're the first car, you can call. If you're the second car on back, you can't even see the sign.
I had shared that with you earlier.
I mean,
I asked an engineer about that, because signage is within River Railroad.
it needs to be turned
Yeah.
in big.
Well, that's what happens anyway, when they get fined, they just turn it over to federal, switch it to federal court and they drop
Getting old.
I don't know what the solution is. It happens, and then, you know, the city doesn't know why that. City is responsible for the driveway.
Well, I think we put up one of those things, taller than that, we'll be replacing that every once.
Probably at least stop.
Yeah, that's true.
It's got to make some moves.
We used to have a sign on E26 bridge that said, damn again. There you go. So,
Okay.
What's that public works still looking? So, no, anything doing flashing signs, or anything is gonna drive the cost up, obviously. I think, I don't know, they could be significant costs. Flashing, I don't know, the solar, just give you an idea of the solar one, we put a 12 in for school crossing.
Yeah.
For Angelina, because like, what was 26,000 a piece?
yeah,
So, I mean, we're talking about significant cost.
Have to be flashing.
No, well, we can try to find some other signs, you know, just have.
Yeah, once we change, I down to hit the change.
I mean, that's something.
Are you talking about hanging something on the viaduct itself?
No. Yeah, you get the same.
Right.
Height,
At the intersection.
you measure that and move it back, and if they hit that, they're not gonna make that fight.
If you go along, change.
Correct.
Take a look and see if they can. I'm still running 12 to do tomorrow, I emailed. About the X-ray process.
Yeah.
There's some signage in there, but I have to have a resident to really cooperate and participate.
Okay.
It's worth a thought.
Yeah. Any other council comments? Any, public comments for items on the agenda? Meeting is adjourned.